Okay, we're up and running. All right, we'll start off with approval of the RDA minutes from September 18th. You want to make?
I'll make a motion that we approve the RDA minutes for September 15th?
September 18th.
18th, excuse me.
I'll second it.
I wasn't there.
All right, I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. We'll go on. First item on the agenda is report from past year on business visits, career affairs, business summit, reporting on fulfillment of business expansion retention contract 2401 from Monica Holdaway from our county Chamber of Commerce.
Monica Holdaway, CEO of the Box Elder Chamber of Commerce. So since January, I've done over 70 business visits. Walked Main Street a few times talking to all the businesses, obviously at Peach Days, and then actually just today in Tremonton about Trick or Treat on Main Street. So I like to say I get inside the businesses and say hi to them on other occasions besides just the official visits. Met with a lot of the larger businesses as well as to the smallest business. So I can have a list here, but I'm trying to think if there's any of them that are like, there's anything earth-shattering in all of these. Crump Reese got bought out this last year, so it was about a year ago. Yeah, Kobe sold, so just so you know that. We have, let's see, new chiropractor in Perry that's become pretty active, and they're right inside Perry City offices, so they're renting part of the lodge. We have met with Whitaker Construction, Steves and Sons, Procter and Gamble, all of the larger businesses, and taken tours of a lot of those as well. Like to make sure that they know we're here. An interesting one, there was a photography studio that we met via Zoom because she's a teacher as well, so it was kind of fun to do that over Zoom. Other things, this year I have done a lot of work on going into other communities. So I was here in March and showed you the economic dashboard. I also went to Perry City, Elwood City, Garland City, Tremonton City, Brigham City, and showed them the economic dashboard as well. So they all knew, as well as Box Elder School District. So they all knew that that was now available on the Chamber's website and that they should utilize it. I am on the county water master plan meetings, so I make it to as many of them as I can and try to represent the businesses on that committee. Our Box Elder Business Summit, Natalie Glockner was our keynote this year. We had 100 attendees, which was about up 25 from the year previously. We actually meet tomorrow morning to start planning the summit for March of 2025. I have met with Senator Lee's business outreach coordinator twice, and both times I've taken him out to meet with businesses. The first time we went to Big J Milling, Gem Buildings, Post, West Liberty Foods, and Whitaker Construction. Those businesses we met with because they may have federal issues, and just to hear about the state of economy. He came up last week, and we actually walked Main Street a little bit, and we talked to Cover Up. We talked to, did we go into Idle Isle Cafe, and then we toured Steves and Sons. And that was just like a spur of the moment thing. Earlier this year, we also met, and I think the commissioners were involved in this when the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity came up and kind of did a listening tour, so I was there as well. Our 2 career fairs went really well. At Bear River High School, we had 413 papers turned in for the drawing for the scholarships, and in Box Elder, we had 837 turned in. The fairs each gave 5 $1,000 scholarships away, so that was awesome. We gave $10,000 in scholarships away this year. And again, the teachers reached out to me to schedule next year's. And so in 2025, Box Elders is going to be April 15th, and Bear Rivers is going to be April 17th. So
Commissioner Bingham's going to be doing your agriculture again?
I think Commissioner Bingham should, yeah. Yeah, he should be there.
Actually, Laura Holmgren.
Laura Holmgren did it, yeah.
I want you to know that there was a lot of kids from Bear River High School that took an onion home with them that day.
There was. And the sheriff's office, where'd he go?
The sheriff's, yeah, Cade was back,
There's
helped
kids.
us.
Well, the Potter's not there. They were standing room only. They loved the sheriffs.
The sheriff's deputies did a great job.
They
I
did a great
understand.
job, and they like let them hold the big bar thing and stuff. I don't know what it's called, but
didn't handcuff
they
any kids
loved
there,
they
huh?
loved it. The kids, like I said, the law enforcement room is always very, very popular, as well as the hospitals and stuff.
Especially if we can get a few
So-
of them to hire, that would be beneficial down the road. I think,
Yeah,
our chief
yeah, and
deputy
that's
would
kind
really
of the
like to sign
point,
them
is
on.
showing them what careers we have in Box Elder County, and that they can go to school and come back and work in Box Elder County, and they can make good livings and stay here. So that's kind of the whole point of the career fairs. The contract I sent, I don't know how you guys number your contract, so it's just the same, but you can change the number. Other than that, it didn't change at all except for dates.
There was the only one change that I saw on there on
'Kay.
the notice section,
Yes,
the contact info. You just need to cross through
Stan's.
Stan's old email address and put in.
oh, I changed the name and not the email.
Yeah.
Dang it.
Well, and we have all, the email address would have changed anyway.
Oh, yeah, they
'Cause
changed
We've gone to
everything, yes.
Utah, and we got,
Okay.
yeah, it's got
But you can just write that in.
.gov.
and it
Okay,
should
we'll
be
write that
fine.
in. Okay.
Yeah, so, and everything's the exact same as it has been. So, any questions for me about the year?
Any questions?
No, thanks for doing such a great job. It's amazing what happened when we combined Tremont and Box Elder. You guys have done amazing with Brigham City to do the whole county. Thanks, Monica.
Oh, thank you, Stan.
It's very good.
Appreciate it.
I've enjoyed being involved. I know that.
Good, thanks.
And that high school thing is, I think it'd be kind of neat to do though with the high school thing, if there's a way we can kind of watch and track a little bit and see if we get any kind of, it'd be fun to find out how many, if any of these kids end up going into some of these employment places. It would be interesting to see if the benefit of doing the fair, I don't know how to track the kids after they leave high school,
Yeah, well, and I was at
Maybe the
another,
scholarship kids we could
I was
figure
in
out
at
what they're
one thing, and they did a reverse job fair, and so the kids set up the table, and then they gave out their resumes and stuff. So maybe that's what we need to talk to the high school about, hey, these kids should use this as an opportunity to ask questions and prepare a resume. And if they're in a business,
Yeah.
even if you give it to the chamber, or the DWS is always there, Department of Workforce Services. So maybe that room, they hand in a resume that they've done, because they're they help people write resumes all the time or something. Just a little more engaging for the students would be awesome.
Yeah, be a great idea.
So, yeah.
Okay, well, let us know if there's other folks that we can help benefit, work with us. This would be helpful for us as well. So
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you for your support.
Thanks, Monica.
Okay, thanks. All right, next item on the agenda is possibility of funds transfer justification for broadband.
Hey, do we have to
We need
approve
to,
the
we need to approve
contract?
the, yeah, we need to go back. Sorry, I need to
I'll
approve
make
the,
I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion. We approve the contract for the Box Elder Chamber.
okay, have a motion
I'll second it.
from Commissioner Summers, a second from Commissioner Bingham to approve the contract. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion passes. All right, now we'll go on. I'm glad you caught that, because then we would be trying to really backtrack. All right, let's go to the funds transfer justification for broadband members. I did invite Brian Carver from Bragg. If you want to come up, Brian, and just let us know kind of where we would be with that right now. Just, we need to look at the RDA. We've got some information about this, but we just get some information from you before we get into the whole discussion here.
And I think Cameron's there too. If you want
Yeah.
to have him come up,
You wanna-
he's got good information on everything too.
You need this? And the lights went off.
Well, computer lights. Hopefully they'll come back on when he plugs in here. There we go.
little bit more slack.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioners. I'm Brian Carver with Bear River Association of Governments in Community and Economic Development, and I've been assisting the county in administering the State of Utah Broadband Access Grant that the county received in late 2021 to construct fiber optic trunk line to serve rural, remote, underserved communities in Box Elder County. And so, yeah, I appreciate the opportunity to come and show you kind of where we're at in the project and kind of what we are looking at in terms of how to wrap this up. So, expenditures through September, the end of September, so yesterday, I guess. Oh, no, excuse me. I've got okay, this is incorrect. I don't have the final expense numbers for the past quarter. I apologize. This would be expenditures through July 1st of 2024. So the state of Utah gave the county $7.4 million in grant funds. We've expended 4.9 and some change of those grant funds. Box Elder County has to date contributed $1.2 million in ARPA funds. Were one of those projects that Charlene was talking to you about earlier with the ARPA reports. We file quarterly reports with the county to show progress on how these funds are expended. And then Beehive Broadband has provided approximately $500,000 in in-kind contributions of labor and materials as they have built out these trunk lines. Now, to be clear, this is the trunk line service down the middle of the street. This is not service directly to people's homes. This is not like the Utopia project in Brigham City where homes are required to connect to this service. This grant was provided merely to provide the option for high-speed internet service in these communities. The residents are not compelled to subscribe to this. However, Beehive offers competitive service if that's what's desired. Milestones, again, as through the end of the previous quarter, about 30 miles of aerial line installed, 16 and a half miles of underground cable installed, and over 1,100, probably closer to 1,150 homes have been passed. That means service is available to them if they wish to subscribe. So that's approximately half of, about half of the number of homes and businesses that we had hoped to address with this project. The communities that are, Howelltown is still under construction in terms of the build, but you'll see here, these are kind of the areas that we're planning on providing those service lines. Although I believe this map probably should be updated a little bit because they're not doing as many aerial lines.
I can talk to any of these things whenever you.
Yeah. If you have any questions, we can tell you why it's different. But they're trenching the lines through Howell instead of building on existing utility poles as was originally planned.
Okay. And does that cost greater or less?
The
Just introduce yourself so we
Hi, this is, I'm Cameron Francis. I'm the CEO of Beehive Broadband. We've been providing telephone and internet service here in the county for about 60 years.
Okay.
So the question was, we changed our design in Howell to go from an aerial build, is what they say, and that would be using the Rocky Mountain Power poles. We did have permits for that, but upon inspection, what we realized is that a lot of those poles, a lot of that infrastructure is aging, right? A lot of those poles have been there for a long time. And we, based on that and consultation with Rocky Mountain Power, we decided to change our design to go do an underground build. So we have equipment up there that is, there's different methods of underground construction, but we are placing those lines along the roadways, roughly about 3 feet down below the side of the road in the right-of-way and utility easement in Howell. So it's going very well.
So that map right there that we're seeing right now with the blue lines are not necessarily accurate. There may be some of those that would be red. at this
That's
point.
right. Those are probably all red at this point.
Okay. Good.
Yeah, good question. Thank you.
The communities of Thatcher and Penrose have both been built out. So the next two maps,
Thatcher and Penrose are done.
yes, or
Yes, they are. They're complete. Of course, any of these communities where we've completed the construction, residents can continue to subscribe.
Right.
So our goal was to pass every home.
Right. But our part's done with getting Thatcher and Penrose. Yeah,
That is right.
Understand more people can sign on.
That's right.
Got that, yep.
Bear River City.
Cameron, Cameron, do you want to talk a little bit about how they have a certain period of time where they can sign up? They sign up, you run the service to their house for free.
Yeah,
And at that time, that would actually have to pay for the service.
That's great. Thank you, Commissioner Summers. So the agreement that we came to with the county and with Bragg and the state is that we would offer free installs. And the plan was, it's most economical to do that while construction teams are still there in the community. And so starting roughly 2 months before we go into a community, we start with advertising, mailers, door hangers, postcards, and we advertise a free install. Typically, we charge $300 per home for the install. The actual cost of the install is around $2,000. But for anybody that's signed up in that time period, which would allow them to be installed and receive service while the crews, while the teams, while the equipment is all on site, we gave them a free install. So a lot of residents have taken advantage of that. Most of these communities, we have a little better than 30% of the residents have signed up. Some of these communities are over 50% or close to 50%.
Yep. So we're also complete with over 300 individual residences and business passed in Bear River City, about 275 residences and businesses in Elwood City. And I've neglected, I apologize, we're also done with the build in Manaway. The town of Manaway is done.
And Bothwell.
And yeah, we did Bothwell and the Marble Hills subdivisions also, although those were paid for using separate grant funds.
And just, we've also done Snowville recently, using a different grant fund. We've completed the build in Snowville, so everyone in Snowville has high-speed fiber internet now.
So what we have left remaining on the state grant of that original $7.4 million, we have approximately $2.4 million left on that in that fund. The state is willing to continue to let us draw that down as long as the county can provide at least a 25% match to those funds. What we have left in terms of needs, most of the numbers, like the budget numbers that I provided, were through the end of quarter 2 of this year. We are now at the end of quarter 3, and Beehive has estimated that the value of the work done through the last quarter is $2.457 million. And our request to the county at this point is we need matching funds to help acquire the remainder of that state grant to help cover that $2.4 million. And 25% of that would be approximately $615,000. The original scope of work for this project was to include the communities of Willard and South Willard. However, we've run into a number of complications with that scope of work over time. Inflation has really messed up our projected budget from 3 years ago, just as I'm sure it's messed up everybody else's budget from 3 years ago. So just the general increase in cost of labor and materials has led to an increase in the estimate of the cost to finish the project. Additionally, the issue in Howelltown, where we switched from aerial cable deployment to an underground trench, that increased costs beyond what was originally estimated. We also had some complications with local canal companies negotiating easements and rights to cross the canal infrastructure and the fee payment structure that they require for to cover their liability and other issues. We also had a partner at the beginning of this project who agreed to work in the communities of Willard and South Willard, who has since pulled out of the project, and we're finding that their original estimates to cover those communities were well below what actual costs are going to be. So what we're looking at to finish those 2 remaining communities is nearly $7 million. And that goes beyond not only what the state has committed or what the county has committed, but what the state has committed. So I guess at this point, unless the county is willing to entertain finding $7 million or $3 million somewhere else, we understand that that's a long shot. But at this rate, we would request $615,000 of RDA funds so that we can complete the project through construction in Howelltown. And that will meet all of our outstanding obligations for the last quarter, plus what we project to be the cost. Howell won't be done for a couple more months, but those costs are
So
included in
Brian,
this estimate.
to finish, so we know what's going to finish how. So what's the number that the 25% of that 7 million that we don't leave on the table, or can we do at least South Willard and leave Willard, or vice versa?
So if
with
we
whatever's
can,
left?
that's a great question, Commissioner. If we can build through Howell and cover those anticipated costs, and assuming the county will match 25% of that $2.4 million to finish through Howell, that will leave about $600,000 of the original state grant. And so, I don't know, I mean, that would reduce the necessary funds from 3.1 million to 2.5 million to finish Willard. But, the state could provide $500,000 or a little more than that to put towards Willard City, but the rest would have to come from somewhere else.
And what about South Willard?
And South Willard would be another $3.8 million on top of that.
Okay.
So we've had our county attorney's office look at it. We've called our RDA attorney. My understanding is, and I don't recall exactly where this RDA was exactly laid out. Do you remember, Charlene, where these are? Yeah, the area. I know what the fund balance is, but I'm just trying to figure out the
Well,
area.
they include several, if you're talking about the RDA administration funds,
Well, I'm just,
that comes from more than one project.
okay,
Which is all north. It's the P&G project and Plymouth.
okay.
Are these two current ones, and then we have the ag park that paid into it as well.
So the ag park's the one that probably paid into it, and we've had those others. And there are some of these communities that we have already done that would benefit from this as far as the RDA. I mean, I don't know how we reach Willard and South Willard with this, but we certainly, by dealing with Bear River, Elwood City, Manaway, even though we did different grant with Bothwell, Marble Hills, Snowville, Howell, I mean, the towns that we're listing on here are all northern Boxcar County towns, which are closer in proximity with the RDA.
Well, but that had nothing to do with the RDA, Lee. All that had to do with the underserved part when we went through the entire grant process. It had nothing to do with RDA.
Right,
We're just
but
looking
in
at,
order for
like,
us to use the RDA fund,
future growth in RDA projects, in which we project that there'll be other RDA projects in other areas in southern Box Elder County. And one of the main things about bringing RDA or people to an RDA is having high-speed internet. So if we decide that the RDA isn't worth going into these areas, and when we start trying to attract businesses and new businesses, or have businesses there, or people that work at home with their businesses, then what kind of message are we sending to the people that we're doing? So,
right, but the understanding that from the Commissioner, Commissioner, just a second. Annie, we want to explain what they told us. I'd like the county attorney's office so they understand what we were told.
So that could be part of a finding that the legislative body makes, that it could benefit a future area. The code specifically states the cost of the installation of publicly owned infrastructure and improvements outside the project area from which the project area funds are collected if the board and community legislative body determine by resolution that the publicly owned infrastructure and improvements benefit the project area, which would, by that wording, would indicate an existing project area that's assisting with the cost. Although the legislative body of the community could make any number of findings of how this could benefit the project areas that are existing or future, but the code does specifically state benefit the project area, which indicates it's probably an existing project
And
area.
I guess that's what I was thinking as well, existing or the one we did with the ag project, we could clearly indicate that this cost that we've incurred for the communities we've done this in, including the 600 and you're asking for 615,000 would cover many of these ag areas, allowing this infrastructure to be in place, which would fit within the RDA expenditure. Is that my understanding? Is that correct?
Yeah, it can be interpreted that way. And so really it comes down to what is the RDA board comfortable with in sharing those funds with a project outside of an RDA project area. If they can make those findings, if they can then, as the legislative body in the commission, make those findings by resolution. So really there's any number of findings that could be made. There are some who may find issue with using RDA funds that were originally designated for a specific project area outside of the project area, but it is within the bounds of the state code for you to make that determination through those findings, if you wanted to.
So like the Golden Spike, Inland Port has a future site, down in Willard, that will eventually be there. There's other sites down by Willard Bay that are looking at the same thing down by South Willard. So that's what I'm saying for future projects. And if we leave that kind of money sitting at the grant, the money will be distributed someplace else.
But right now,
And Box Elder County will lose it.
but right now, if we just finish at Howell, we're still owing 615,000. That's correct, right? To finish Howell out.
Right.
Correct.
So if we so in order to get this done, we probably really need to get the 615,000 taken care of. Then we can determine what goes, if the remaining 500,000 or whatever we're leaving on the table, what could be determined in the future. But this is what we need to commit to now to make sure
Well,
that we get
except
the
for we
Howell
need to tell the
project.
state, right, Brian? Because the state's telling us by, I guess, last month that we were going to have to let them know what we're going to do. That's why we're having the meeting today.
Yeah, that's correct. We are on kind of a short timeline to decide how to finish out with this 2.4 million from the state. And so, yeah, that's why we're asking for the $615,000 now, so that we can take advantage of as much of that as possible. Willard and South Willard would be excellent candidates for future project funds. The new broadband, the BEAD program. I forget what the acronym stands for, but
Which is probably 3 to 5 years out.
well, I'm hearing that they might start accepting applications as early as next spring. But yeah, I mean, by the time awards are made and construction starts, we're still a couple of years out.
Okay. Commissioner, do you have any discussion or concerns with what?
No, I agree. I think we are committed to finishing off the project we're already involved in, and I think that's what got to be our main concern right now.
So do we want to take a motion to take $615,000 from the RDA to cover this cost? And then as an RDA, we would make that motion, and then we would have to go back to the county attorney's office to do a resolution. Is that right? That you would bring it to the next county commission meeting that we would put on the agenda for the next commission to approve it as a commission. The commission would then have to approve that resolution.
Yeah, that's right. As the RDA board, you can commit the funds to the project in the meeting today because it was noticed on the agenda. And then that gives the county commission the opportunity to, by resolution, approve the use of those funds.
And the articulation of how and why we're going to use those
Yeah,
funds.
but we would need to notice that, the
Right.
resolution, yeah.
So I'll make a
I'd
motion
still
that we
I'd
approve
still like,
$615,000 of RDA funds to finish the Howell project.
Okay, and I'll second it for discussion. Now we'll open a discussion. Commissioner Summers?
I was just going to say I'd still like to see what we could do with the rest of the funds and go back and see without having to leave all the state stuff on the table and what else we could do, whether it would be South Willard or Willard, and get one of those two communities done with this grant money. So I know Brian's leaving, dang it. But I don't know who's going to take your place, but thanks for doing all this work, Brian. It's been a heck of a lot of the people in Box Elder County and the community have high-speed internet, and it's been a pleasure working with you.
Okay, so we have a motion on the table to approve, to move $615,000 out of the RDA, prepare a
You
resolution.
already seconded it, so.
To put a,
call for
yeah,
vote.
to put a resolution in place. So that's the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Aye. All, okay, motion passes. All right.
Okay, I will make a
Stan,
motion.
just clarification, was that aye in favor or just a
Oh, yeah, I said
okay.
aye. If I'd have said nay, I'd have said nay.
Okay, just want to make sure,
Opposed.
because I got caught in between with the
Want me
phone
to-
there. So I just want to make sure I got the right motion there. All right.
So I'll make a motion to go back into our regular meeting.
You want a second motion? Do we have a second?
Yeah, second.
Say, I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Now we'll go back into our commission meeting and we'll wait for just a second for the recording to get caught up here. Thank you. Thanks for coming in.
Gentlemen.